Hey neighbor, hope you're doing well. Well, what do you do when your garden gets out of control on you? Well, the fact of life is life happens. Sometimes we have things that keep us out of the garden for a few days, such as a death in the family, which I recently had, or travel. You may have a business trip you have to go off on, or you may be sick. Anyway, if you garden, then you're gonna have those occasions where life happens and you can't get out there and tend to your garden like you should. It's been about 10 days since I could spend any time in my garden, and my sweet potatoes got out of control a little bit on me, and that's what we're gonna talk about today. What to do when those sweet potatoes get out of control on you. Within the last 10 days, I've had the opportunity a couple times just to walk through the garden real quick, but I did notice about a week ago, I was starting to get some holes in my leaves on my sweet potatoes. Nothing serious, and it wasn't bad at all, but I was getting a little bit of holes on my sweet potato leaves there. And of course, we know when we see this type damage right here, more likely it is from some type of worm there. But I really wasn't concerned about it. I had other things on my mind. I said, yeah, maybe I need to spray it. Maybe I don't. Maybe it'll be okay. Well, 10 days later, I got significant damage here, and I'm gonna have to do something quick. Now, we've had a really good year for growing sweet potatoes. It's doing well. We hadn't had to water a lot. We've had plenty of rain here. Fertility was good. Everything looks pretty doggone good with the exception of this damage I've got now. Now, I'm about 85 days into this right here on my sweet potatoes. Normal days of maturity on sweet potatoes is anywhere between 80 and 120 days. I know that's a large range there, but that's pretty much what it is. My vine's still holding up well. If they was turning yellow in there, I would be more concerned about harvesting them, but my vines are still holding up well. I think I'm gonna probably end up checking them around the 100-day mark. So I got a few more days that I need to protect this foliage right here so that we can make a great harvest of sweet potatoes. My point is, if I was real close to harvest within 7 to 10 days, I probably would not worry about this damage here, and I would just work it on the way through to harvest and harvest them. But since I'm farther out, I want to protect this foliage here, keep my potatoes nice and healthy. So I need to treat these potatoes now. So the question is, what do I treat with? Well, we know we got a severe worm problem. We got a little bit of a whitefly problem as well. Whiteflies are more of a sucking insect. I see those late in the afternoon when I come out here and I push my foliage around, I see those whiteflies flying up. It's not bad at all, but I want to treat for those as I treat for my worm. Now, if I just had that whitefly problem and it wasn't bad at all, I would probably use a different material. But I'm gonna show you today what my choice of material to use in this exact situation. All right, we got 4 options here, and I'm gonna go over each one of them. The first one is Fruit Tree Spray. Now this has in it a pyrethrin and neem oil. It's a combination product. This product right here would work good if I was treating just for whiteflies or I was treating for primarily sucking insects. It will work somewhat as a contact on worms, but it's not my choice of product today because I don't feel like I'm in a situation where this right here is going to give me the best control. Next we got is plain old neem oil. Now neem oil will kill on contact on those worms here, but I got a lot of foliage there, and with neem oil, you need to pretty much get contact. I don't feel like I can get contact. Also, I feel like my worm population is higher than what I would get good control with neem oil, and plus it's late in the season, my insect pressure is high. If I was earlier in the year and I didn't have as much damage as I got now, this would be my product. Or maybe 10 days ago when I had just a little bit of damage starting, this would have been a wonderful product to start with. And then we got spinosad. Now, this is probably the best product at this point now to use as an organic control here. Spinosad will kill worms. They will ingest this after we spray it on the leaves, and it will kill the worms. It's a little bit of a delayed effect here. This would have been another great product to use 10 days ago, and especially if I wanted to stay organic, this would have been the product of choice. I don't feel like at this moment when I got so much damage and so much insect population, this is the right choice for me now. Here's what I feel like is my best product to use today with the circumstances I'm under. This is a synthetic chemical right here that has residual to it, has quicker knockdown, and it's going to give me faster control with higher insect populations. Now the drawbacks of this right here is I got 7 days to harvest. So when I spray this, I'd have to wait at least 7 days before I harvest. So you wouldn't want to use this close to your harvest time there. Also, you need to spray this every 7 days, especially if you have a high insect pressure here. The rate on this right here, I believe, is 1 ounce per gallon. We got to get pretty good coverage there, but we got a lot of foliage on those potatoes, and if we can't get really good coverage inside there, this is going to take care of that. With some of these organic controls here, I have to make sure I get better coverage with all that foliage in there. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do that, so I feel like this right here is the best product to use in the situation that we're in. Okay, best practices when using pesticides is you want to fill your sprayer half full of water, then you want to mix your chemical in. I always use a measuring cup, so I poured me about 1.5 ounces of chemical in here to 1.5 gallons of water. Wash out your measuring cup and finish filling your sprayer. All right, so when you get your sprayer full, we want to put our lid back on good, and we want to give it a little shake. Mix our chemical up with the water. Now with any insecticide or pesticide, it doesn't matter whether you're spraying fungicide, insecticide, or herbicide, you want to make sure that you don't mix up no more than you're going to use. The last thing we want to do is leave this sitting overnight, because it's going to lose a lot of its power there. It's going to dilute down. So whatever we mix up, we want to use. All right, when we're spraying for worms, especially when we're using a synthetic product such as this right here, coverage is not as important. Now, if I was using an organic chemical and I was going after whiteflies, or I was using a synthetic such as this and I was going after whiteflies, I would make sure I'd have to get in there and get good coverage. But that's not as important when I'm spraying primarily for worms. What you want to do is you want to wet those leaves well to what we call the point of runoff. Once that chemical starts dripping off those leaves, you've got enough on there. Anything after that, you're pretty much just wasting. All right, that's what you want, a nice wet leaf. All right, so my hope is that I can come in here in about 7 days and treat these again. I know with this much damage, I've got a high population of worms, and it's probably going to take more than one application. So I'll wait about 7 days, come back, hit them again. Hopefully at that point, I've knocked them down enough so that I don't have significant damage. If I've got just a little bit of, holes in my leaves, I'm okay with that, because I'm getting close to harvest time. But I do not want a lot of damage there. I want to grow some big old nice taters, and I want them leaves to look pretty good. Unlike some of those gardens you may see in these magazines or on TV, the backyard vegetable garden's not perfect. Life happens, life gets in the way, and sometimes we just have to deal with it. It's okay, don't fret it. Understand there are things we can do to correct it. We can still make really good harvests. It may not be picture perfect, but there are things we can do to help us to make a good crop here. And don't get frustrated, don't get down. Life happens.